talk through what we could do to get out in front of any potential disruption in the learning process for our students, to ensure that they had the opportunity to maintain learning continuity through the end of the semester, in the event that issues associated with coronavirus develop further in the Metro Atlanta area, in such a way that other institutions begin closing, and it sort of drives us to a physical closure. What could we do to maintain that learning continuity? And one of the best ways that we can do that is to utilize the learning management system that we have. We are, of course, using it for online training, which is by and large passive. It's not live training, it's asynchronous. But we are developing the synchronous capability, just as we are right now synchronous with the Google Meet aspect. What we wanted to do was to create an environment where each and every class currently is loaded into the Populi LMS system. Of course, the online classes have fully developed sessions for each week, which include discussions, tests, uploading and submitting papers, essays, case studies, so on and so forth. But we wanted to create, by your help and your assistance, a method so that during the next 6 weeks, weeks 10 through 15, you can add some elements so that students would be able to participate. We would be able to collect attendance records, and we could continue on through the semester. Hopefully it won't come to any kind of a school closing, but in the event that it does, we want to be prepared and out in front. So we have this weekend and next week to fully work on getting all of these things completed. Now, Peter is going to lead you through a process. Some of you are already aware of the process because you've sat through the orientation. We have in those orientation sessions instructed and taught individuals how to, first of all, load your syllabus and load any other file materials that you would want students in your class to have access to remotely. We also taught you how to build assignments, first of all by setting categories and then by setting individual assignments. And once those assignments are built and weighted, then the gradebook is in place fully and completely. And we always recommend building those in sequence of how they occur during the semester. Once that's done, we want to do an added step with you all that goes even beyond being able to do that and to do attendance. We want you to establish lessons for week 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, disregarding the off week for the fall holiday. And in each and every week, we want you to establish what they're going to be reading. We want you to notify them as to how they are going to engage with you in the class. That is substantive interaction. Quick definition: substantive interaction is not read these chapters or these pages. It is not look at this video. It is not review this PowerPoint for the lesson. That's not substantive interaction. Doing a discussion board, which you can create. Peter will show you how to do that easily. Creating a discussion board, having a test that they take, we'll show you how to do that. How to upload an assignment such as an essay paper, a case study, anything like that. Those are substantive interactions. And based on the Department of Education's definition of substantive interaction, that constitutes attendance. In the classroom, merely showing up is attendance. Online and by way of doing this type of an approach, they would have to submit something, at least one thing during that week. That's substantive interaction. It could be more than one. It could be 2 or 3 or 4, although that would be quite hefty to do 4. That would constitute substantive interaction. And by doing that, we can show that our students are in attendance, they are participating, and that they meet the Department of Education requirements, especially as it relates to financial aid and those types of things, and mandatory withdrawals. that we don't want to see our students have to go through. We will be exercising some leniency as it relates to that whole scenario if we're moved to that. But that is the gist of it. We want to be out in front of this entire process so that we can facilitate ongoing learning. The students finish the semester, and we all continue to move forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter Shirokov, who is the Director of Distance Education, and I'm going to let him walk you through the training, and I may come back in and interject. If you have a question, unmute your mic and raise your question, because we do want to answer those. Have your syllabus ready. On another tab, if you want, you can log into Populi and you can do some of what we're talking about doing as we move along, and I think that would be a great way to do that. So Peter, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Malone. So basically, I want to walk you through, and I'm going to go ahead and start doing my presentation here. I will present my screen so you could see what I'm doing on my computer. And I'm just going to go into log into Populi right now. So you should be able to see my screen now. I'm going to go have and log in. And so when you normally log into Populi, this is where you end up. You're on this front page that shows you different things depending on what you're teaching, how many classes you're teaching. Everyone's going to be looking a little bit different. So kind of like your dashboard, your alerts come in here. But what's most important is the particular courses you're teaching. Whether you're teaching an online course or you're teaching a course that is a actual traditional campus course, doesn't really matter. All of the courses are loaded into Populi because Populi is our management system through which we manage all the information, all of the attendance, all the grades, everything. So it's just the online courses. We actually have content, the actual course content, where in the traditional classroom campus-based course, all the content happens in the classroom versus online. That's the major difference, but the actual overlap is quite large. So when you go to my courses tab right here on top, this is what brings you to a page where all the classes that you teach are listed. And so I created a test class right here for us to play around in, called it Test 101. And this is where we can sort of say orient ourselves to what's really happening inside of Populi. So if you were to click on your class today, again, whether you're teaching an online course or a traditional campus course, this is what it would look like. You will have a blank spot, and it brings you to a dashboard. And the dashboard is where all the different alerts happen. So like if you're entering attendance and your students go over 4 absences, it will put that student's name right there and says so-and-so is failing because they're not attending. If there's a new assignment that somebody posts, you'll get an alert that such and such assignment's been posted. You need to grade it, things like that. There's a bulletin board right here in front of you on the dashboard that allows you to communicate to all students at once. Everybody who's enrolled in this course will receive those messages. This is not for communicating to individual students. This is for communicating with the whole class all at once. So anything you say here is publicly announced to everyone. So if you want private communication, then you need to click on the student's name and send them a private personal message, which you can also do through Populi. Now, you land on this dashboard, and this is where you are. And this is being a blank class. You really don't see what's going on yet. But just as a quick reminder, most of you know this, but those of you who do not know, the way you post a syllabus is you go to the syllabus section right here. When you click on a syllabus page, what you will see is the course name, the course description. You will see also a place to upload your syllabus. You'll see the faculty right here usually be listed. Whoever's teaching a course, and the student has an opportunity to contact the faculty by simply clicking on their name and going to their profile. And by the way, all of you who are teaching, especially those of you who are teaching online, I recommend you update your profile and put your picture on, because whenever people communicate with you online, they want to know who they're talking to, and having a friendly face helps a lot, so they can connect the name and the face. That's really great for interaction. So here you are on the syllabus page, and if you go to the very bottom of the page, you see this section called Syllabus, and it has a little link right here that says upload a file or add content. So I suggest upload a file. This is where you would put your course syllabus. and that way students can find it. So when you click on this, it opens a drop window. So you can actually drag and drop from your desktop, or you can simply click on this gray area and opens your desktop, and you can just upload a file. So here I just uploaded a file. And the file I uploaded is not really a syllabus, but really my agenda for sharing things with you today. So my first point that I wanted to share with you is posting syllabus and other documents. And here I just uploaded the syllabus. So you know what it looks like. Students can download it, they can print it, they can zoom in, they can zoom out, they can do all sorts of things with it. The moment you do this, students have access to your syllabus. Everyone who's registered in a course can walk in and do the same thing. Click on the dashboard, click on the syllabus, and go in and get that information. You can add a textbook right here on the right side if you look. It has the time where your class meets. A room that is assigned to you eventually makes it in there. So here you can add a link if you want them to go to a particular website, some sort of a resource you want to share. Right here is where you add a book. You can enter an ISBN, or you can enter a title if you want to. You can actually even search for it. Let's see, I misspelled it. I'm going to search for textbooks. And so since I'm interested in human resource management, I'm just going to choose this textbook, and I'm going to make this textbook my class textbook. And what happens now, you could see the book that I chosen from the list, whether I find it by using ISBN or a title, I add it. And so every student that logs into the course right now sees the syllabus, and they see the exact book that you want them to see. And so you want them to purchase that book, they know they have all the information. You can also add special files right here. Any handouts, any class handouts that you want to, you can name them appropriately, and you can place them here as an attachment to the course, so that every student who logs into a course, if there are certain handouts that they need, they can have them. They're right here. There's another place where files can also be placed, and that's under a tab right here, right underneath the syllabus. It's called Files. You can also upload them here. You can put entire folders of files if you want to, and those files are available for you to use in the course, as well as to share with students. What you put in here, students will be able to see. So when you click Add Files, it once again adds a drag and drop window, or you can just click on the window and upload a file. And so here I am uploading a file. Done. Here's this file now. And so the students in this class will have access to this file now as well. So that's a syllabus page. That's what I wanted to show you first. You can add all sorts of information that is for public, sort of say, access to every student that is registered in this course. Now, there is a grade book in this course. Obviously, in every course, we give grades to people, and a grade book has to be built. It doesn't just exist automatically. There's a roster, and that exists the moment the students are enrolled into a class, but the grade book doesn't exist. So when you click on the gradebook right now, all you see is 2 students that I've placed in this test course. And you see that there's nothing except a final grade. Now, I can enter a final grade if I want to for the course, but that wouldn't be really sufficient. I mean, technically speaking, Department of Education does not just want us to give people final grades. They would love to see all of the data, all of the assignments, every single paper, every single case study, every single assignment that we give. They would like to see individual grades for those and how those grades are calculated, which is the whole point of creating a grade book for ourselves, for our students, and also for accountability purposes. So how do you do that? Well, that brings me back to my third point, adding assignments, and then I'll come back to review the grade book with you. So in order to create a grade book, you go to this section, the 4th tab right here, the 4th button on the left side is called Assignments. You click on Assignments, and it brings you to this empty window that has assignment groups and assignments. Now, assignment groups are your grading categories. You have a syllabus, and you already have the grading categories that you use. And in those categories, you typically place individual assignments. So I'm going to add an assignment group right now, and I'm going to call it tests, and I'm going to give it 40%, okay? And I'm going to click save. And so what just happened is I added a category, an assignment group. This is my grading category. I'm going to add another one. Actually, I'm going to add another one right here, and I'm going to call it papers, and I'm going to give it 20%. All right, so here you could see that now I have tests and papers, and I still have other 40% left. That's my free. So I'm going to add another one, discussions. I'm going to give it 20%. All right, and if I want to add another one, I still have 20%. I could just do, you know, final exam. How about that? And give that one 20%. The percentage is just arbitrary. I'm just playing around here, but I'm showing you how easy it is to create these categories. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create individual assignments. Now that I have categories into which I can place assignments, I'm going to make an assignment. I go add an assignment, and the first assignment I want to create is a test, because that's a very common assignment. So I'm going to go test, but I'm going to name it with the name of the week first. So the number of week that I'm interested in is 10, because that's what's coming up next week. So I'm not going to give it a description right now, but you can put a description. And what's important here is that once you create an assignment, there's a number of settings that you have to enter. The first item is a type of an assignment. Right here it says grade only. Well, that's if you're going to manually grade an assignment, and which is fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to classify it as a test. And excuse me, any type of a test, an exam, or quiz, anything is going to be test, because test is just a variety of an assignment. And so the moment I chose test, it brought up a bunch of new options. So first of all, how am I going to calculate the points? Our system and the way we always do this is 100. Fixed points, 100%. That's what we do. So that makes it very easy and uniform. That is our policy. That's how we follow. The next setting is called group. So again, now this is the assignment group that I need to assign this to. Since this is a test, it has discussions as the first one, and this is the groups that I created. Discussions, final exam, papers, and so I go to tests, published, yes, I want to publish it, and I can choose a date upon which this test will be available and will start. So the due date for this test, I'm going to make next week. It's going to be on Monday. I'm going to leave the time blank. That's going to be midnight by default. And when do I want this test available as the next window? So I can leave it like it is if I really want it to be broadly available as whenever the students log in, or I could set limits. Let's see, I'm going to go available from, and I'm going to set 16th as the availability date. And I'm going to say I don't want them to do it past 21st. So guess what? By Saturday, I want them to be done. I want them to be finished with those tests. So they have a week to do it, a window of a week. Time limit, I want them to have 1 hour. Maybe I want 45 minutes, 30 minutes, doesn't really matter. Whatever I choose appropriate for that test, I could gauge approximately how long, depending on how complicated that test is. So let's say 30 minutes. And the rest of the settings, you know, we're just going to leave intact. I would say for now, leave it intact. Those are a little bit more advanced, but this is the core of what needs to be done for setting up a test. And then you click save. So when you did that, what happened now in the assignments, we have a test. 10 is the number of a week, and then test. So I've done that. I'm going to add another assignment just as a experiment here. So I'm going to do discussion. All right, so I do 10 discussion. Grade only, no. I want this to be a discussion style. A type of the assignment is discussion. I have to choose the appropriate type. So I want it to be graded on a 100-point scale because that is our standard. And it already has the right group. Discussions just happens to be the first group. So there it is. There are rubrics available for you, sample rubrics. If you want to learn, how to use them, you can do that as well. But basically, you can grade discussions manually as well. So again, date, when do I want this discussion to happen? Well, I want it to happen by Tuesday. I want it on the 17th. So do I want it always available? Yeah. You know what? I'm going to let them talk for a long time. If they want to be late on the discussion, that's all right. I'll take a late discussion rather than no discussion at all. So I'm not going to set up time limits on this one. But I'm just going to click save, and that's going to place discussion into my assignment list. So if you notice now that I have the assignment groups, and I have 2 assignments that I've created, and each one of those assignments is listed under appropriate group, tests, discussions. So we're not quite complete yet because even though I've created a test, I created no test questions. So the test is really not complete. And even though I created discussion, I didn't really post what is it that I want to discuss in this discussion. So these are a little bit more involved. If I really actually want to build those exact assignments, then I have to go into each one of them and create content now. So I'm just going to do this fast just for fun. So here I have 2 students who will potentially take this test. Once I click on the test, it opens up that window just in case they already took the test. I can put in the grades here. But right here on the right side is where all the settings are, okay? So you could see my test right there has no questions. Why? Because I didn't create any questions yet. It doesn't have a rubric, but everything else seems to be okay. It's published. The due dates are there. The availability dates are there. So my settings here are good, but it's still empty. It has no questions. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this test, and it's going to open the actual content now. Now you see this is what my test looks like, and it's empty. So in order to make it work, I have to add a question. And so I am going to add a question. Let's see, what color is US flag? And I'm going to make it a multiple choice. I'm going to say red, blue, black, let's see, green. I'm going to go red, white, blue. How about that? And I'm going to give this answer 100% credit, and the other ones I'm going to give 0 credit. So that way, if the student clicks the right answer, they will get the credit. And I'm going to say randomize. That's going to jumble up all these choices, and I'm going to give it a value of 100 points. This is a 1-question test. How easy is that? I wish life was that easy. So I'm going to click save.
Peter, make sure that you do the dial on the red, white, blue. That's you're setting the correct answer.
Dial?
Yes, to the left.
Yes, right here. Yeah. So yeah, this is the only.
Yeah, that identifies the correct answer.
Yeah. So this lets people know that this is the only one that's going to receive 100% credit. So here I am. And I choose to randomize. I like for my questions to be, jumbled up. So when the student sees them, they're actually going to be in different order for every student. So then I click save, and now my question is saved. If I want to preview it, I just go to preview, and here is my question. That's how it would look like. If I want to change it, redesign it, I can go over here and edit it. And use this little pencil right here to edit it. If I want to delete it, I delete it by just trash can. So everything is self-explanatory. If I want to add another question, I go to these 3 little dots and add another question. I can add a heading or instructions or text. I can add a picture. If I want people to analyze a diagram, a chart, or whatever, there's all sorts of tools here, right, for building tests online. But basically, this is it. That's just a 1-question test that I'm showing you. You could see the time limit I set up is right here. You could see I could choose what sort of information student sees after they're finished with the test. And we're not proctoring tests currently. We're just not quite set up for that yet, but this is it. You can import questions from existing tests if you have tests from other LMS systems, but it's a little bit more complicated. You may need help with that. So, so this is a test that I've created, and it's pretty much ready to go. If I only had one question and not enough questions, it would say that I have unassigned points, but I assigned 100 points to this question, so we're good to go. So I'm going to go back to assignments, and you can see that my test is ready to go, but my discussion board is not ready. It says a draft. So I click on a discussion board. Once again, it brings me to this discussion page. It shows me the details about the assignment, the due dates, and things like that. And again, to edit the assignment, I must click on the assignment link on the right side of the page. So when I do that, it brings me to the actual discussion. Okay, and so here, to edit the discussion, I see that the discussion is not published yet, right here. I see all these settings right here, which I'll talk about in just a second. But to edit the discussion here, I have to click on the 3 little dots right here, just the opposite of the title. So when I click on the 3 dots, it says Edit Discussion. I go right here, and I can name it. I can decide, you know, what is the topic of the discussion. So, you know, please tell me the colors of U.S. flag and what they mean. So now I'll correct my spelling. All right. And I can give any kind of criteria here. I could say, I want you to discuss this, you know, in a paragraph form, and whatever instructions I wish to give in a discussion, I can be as elaborate as elaborate is better than not elaborate. And then I simply save and publish. Let's say this is my completely finished question. I'm ready to go. I'll go save and publish. And now the discussion is ready to go. You could see a window opens up. It says contribute to this discussion. So a student will see a similar window where it says, okay, you're ready to engage now. Now I can add a video, for example, to this discussion. If I want them to watch a video before they answer my question, I can do that. I can add a file that they can read or analyze. It really, there's a number of different options over here, and then they can still engage with the content that I'm assigning to them if I want them to analyze something. Now, on the settings right here on the right side, I want you to see something important. First of all, the published changed to yes, and that means the discussion is ready to go. It's no longer a draft. But right here, this setting is very important. It says post first. What that means is that I want my students to make their questions, to answer the question before they can see everybody else's answers. So I'm going to click yes, and I'm going to save. I want them to post first because I want to, I don't want them to see the answers of other people. You know, it's very easy for a student to come into class, click on a discussion board, see what everybody else wrote, and kind of say the same thing, right? Well, we can avoid that by saying post first. That means they have to first answer the question themselves, and then they will be shown responses of other people. Now, the way discussion boards work online is a lot of times we write something, we write an answer to a question, and then we can also ask people to interact. For example, I like to ask my students, please respond to one of the opinions. And I don't do discussions with open-ended questions, with questions that are closed, like yes or no. I do a discussion where basically people have to express their opinions, and people can disagree with their opinions, or they can agree with certain aspect that someone presented of their opinion, but disagree with others. So this is where the grading comes up. Right here, you can see graded discussion, 100 points, and I'm going to add requirements. Well, first of all, I want my discussion to be a certain length. I don't want them to just type in 5 words and that's it. How can I grade that? I have no idea if it's, you know, that's not really thinking. So I say total words. The word count is at least, I'm going to say 250 words I want them to type, which is just a couple of paragraphs. And I'm going to give them 90 points for that. But that's not enough. I actually want them to respond to somebody else's post. So I'm going to add another requirement, and I'm going to say, I want number of replies or comments, let's see, number of comments is at least 1. And I'm going to give them 10 points if they respond to somebody else or comment on somebody else's post. And I'm going to click save. And so now this criteria is added to my grading. So whenever a student posts, you will see how that criteria plays into grading a particular post. So now I'm done with my discussion post. I created the simple discussion post. I created a simple test. I'm back to the assignments category. You could see now the categories are there. Here's the 2 assignments I have created. The discussion is no longer a draft. It is done. It is published. And now you can also see the weighting on these assignments. You could see it right there. It's how much of percentage of a course this is. Well, obviously, if I add multiple discussions and multiple tests and multiple other assignments, the percentage categories will spread out a bit more. But that's how it is right now with the content and information that I have so far entered into the system. So that's
Peter?
basically how you do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me inject here because there was a question on the chat that I answered that I think is pertinent here, and that is that your category for discussions may be 20%, or the final exam 20%, but in the discussions you may have, say for instance, 4 discussions, each of them worth 100 points each. Well, for the total grade in the course, the system will automatically calculate the math for you. And
Yes.
if the students got 400 points for those 4 discussions, that 20% would end up, being, you can work the math on that. So it'd be like eight points total for that.
Yeah.
So
it will average it out.
The system will automatically do the math for you, and you will see that total populated at the end of the grade book. If you clicked over to the gradebook real quick for them and let them see those
I'm
2
going to show
elements.
that. I'm going to show that in just a minute, actually, how it works. So that's good.
Okay, good.
Excellent. No, excellent question. Fantastic. Thank you for chiming in and asking. All these questions are super pertinent. So basically what we did so far is I showed you the gradebook before, but there was nothing in the gradebook to grade. So I showed you how the assignments and the groups work. Now you could see that I go back to the syllabus page and those assignment groups that I created are there. Or these are just like your weight categories in your syllabus, no different. You've already created them in your syllabus. You just need to recreate them online in order to make everything work. So I'm going to go back to the gradebook now. And when I go to the gradebook now, I actually have assignments because I added those assignments and I created them. And you can see my grading scale is 100 points. Now they're there. Now, there's 2 ways of entering grades. You can enter grades by actually grading individual assignments that were submitted online by doing actual online grading in that environment, or you can enter things manually. Even if you're in a real class, in a campus-based class, essentially, you're sometimes hearing a presentation being made, and it's an oral presentation. And so you can enter a grade manually by simply clicking right here, Edit Grades. And then you go to a particular field and you give students whatever grades for that particular assignment. So, here I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And immediately as I enter grades, they are being auto-calculated. Look at what happens over here. I just entered these grades. I'm going to go save. And the final grade is automatically calculated. Well, it's calculated based on the only 2 assignments that I've so far have programmed. But if I've programmed an entire semester full of assignments, it's going to recalculate and readjust everything. But the grades are live. The moment I enter them, the students can see them. I can see them. The administration can see them. That's the beauty of this online system, that I don't need to, a registrar doesn't need to contact you and ask you what grade you gave anybody, or can you please submit the grades? They're here. I can go in and get them myself. Any administrator can see, they can see attendance records or grades for the classes. They can get in there, and you don't need to produce any reports for anybody because they're already here. You just did your job online, and that's it. So that's one way of entering grades. You can definitely do it manually, or you can do it by actually grading an assignment online. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So I'm going to clear out these grades. We're back to nothing. And so I'm going to show you how to grade discussions. So tests, depending on how you set it up, if it's true, false, multiple choice, all questions, they will auto grade because you gave the right answers, you gave the wrong answers. And so the computer will auto grade it, and it will put the grade automatically into the grade book for you. You don't have to do anything. You just check it. If you do essay questions on the test, then you'll have to grade those manually, question by question, student by student. But the computer will still auto-calculate the cumulative grade and still fill in that grade book for you. So you will see the result of that right here under the test. Discussions are a little bit more arbitrary because you want to look for the content of what people actually wrote. So in order to grade a discussion, you would click right here on the discussion link itself, and they will take you to the week 10 discussion. Now, since we don't actually have any answers by any students on this discussion, I'm not going to see them now. We didn't have time to simulate that. But you can still understand how this process works by grading. So I have two students over here, two test students in this test environment. I'm going to click on enter grades, and I can enter grades manually right here. Or I can simply go to, let's see, discussion 10, and I can see the actual discussion. Now here, I don't have nobody answered anything. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to answer and add a comment, fake comment right there. See, this is how it works. But essentially, you can grade by student. So I am ready to grade. I have a roster. Let's say I have 15 students instead of 2. I click on the first one, and here's my question. Please tell me the colors of the flag and what they mean. My comment is right there, is hidden. I can show it if I want to, just to know what I said. But let's say student did answer a good question, and I will enter a grade for them right here on the right side. Enter grades. Go enter grades and look at the categories that pop up. Total word count 250. If the student actually typed 250 words, the computer will automatically give them 90 points, which I can adjust depending on the quality of their answer. If they did post at least one comment to another student, then the computer will automatically give them 10 points for that comment, which I can again adjust because if their comment was not substantive, let's say just said, oh yeah, I like that, that was great. Well, that's not really substantive. That doesn't mean you actually read anything I said. So again, I can take that away if I want to. And in the end, I can decide to give whatever grade I want to the student and adjust it. I can write a comment to my student and just say, you know what, great job, save and go to the next student, and then give them a grade as well, and then save. Now, what's going to happen now is both of those students that I gave grades to for this assignment will now show up in the gradebook. So I can go to the gradebook, and here's those two Bs that I gave. They're already entered into the final grade. Why? Because they're right here in discussion. So this is how Gradebook essentially works. You build out the assignments, you build the tests, you build the discussions, you build the paper submissions, and as these things get graded, the Gradebook is populated with data. And that's basically what it looks like. So here we have now successfully moved on to our next step that I showed you how the Gradebook works in relationship to the assignments and assignment groups and things like that. Now, go ahead, jump in.
When you have attendance, and attendance, say I give 10% for the attendance.
Yes.
Now we have 16 weeks. Then am I supposed to make a 16 attendance for those 10%?
I will tell you how I do attendance. Number one, online, we don't give people credit for attendance. We give people credit for participation. Showing up They actually owe it to me. You don't get rewarded for just being there. You get rewarded for participating, yes. So I do create a participation grade if I want to reward them for being active in class. And that I usually, you can do that in a variety of ways. You can create a participation grade for each week and give a small percentage, although I would not recommend giving them a lot. Or you can create a cumulative participation grade where in the end of the semester, you say, you know what, based on how this student participated the entire semester, I think they had a good participation rate or an excellent participation rate or a mediocre participation rate. And then you can assign that grade based on your judgment because you've been with them throughout the whole course. And you basically enter manually that into the field because there's no assignment to grade per se. So just like I showed you a way to do it manually, you would put that in.
So don't have to make that participation for every week, in other words.
No, you can do cumulatively for the whole semester, and you can just judge because you know your students. They, like I said, I don't like to give them attendance credit. I like to give them participation credit. If they raise their hands and they want to speak up and they want to ask questions and they contribute to the class, yeah, they're going to get an excellent grade. If they just sit back and don't do much except submit their homework and tests and quizzes, then yeah, they're going to get a low participation grade. So but online, it's even more so because their participation is measured by their activity, what they do, how they post, how often do they post, do they respond to their peers, or do they just come in and do the very bare minimum and don't interact with anyone? If I respond to a student's post and they don't respond back to me, well, you can imagine what kind of a participation grade they're going to get. They're not even responding to their instructor's comments. So that tells me they're ignoring me, which means they don't care, which means they don't show up and they don't read even comments that were posted on their own work that they've submitted. So things like that.
Yeah, if I can jump in here, Dr.
Please.
Cho, I know that part of the grade for the semester, especially if we have to engage this part of the process, will relate to how you structured the class on campus for the first portion of the semester. And in that regard, the best way to accomplish that attendance grade or participation grade would be with an accumulative element. So I would add one element and then just do it sort of at the end of the semester, because you're going to have to gauge campus and online. But if you wanted to do that for your campus only class, you could set it up on a weekly basis and simply give them points. But that's pretty tedious.
Yeah,
when they need to be there already. The other thing is that attendance reports can be pulled, which would show each individual student's attendance during the semester as a whole. But we can discuss that more if that's really, really vital to you. We can discuss it more a little bit later.
Each class is different, and dynamic in each class is different. The needs of each course is a little bit different, and how each professor teaches is obviously different as well. So the system is flexible enough to accommodate either way. It's just how complicated do you want to make it is the question you need to answer for yourself. So thank you. Yeah, excellent question. I appreciate you jumping in on that. So my point number 3 that I wanted to address is adjusting assignments. Okay, and this is where this idea of substantive interaction is very important. Whenever we teach a class that's on campus, where we interact with students, where we stand in front of them, we lecture, they respond, they don't respond. So we can gauge student participation to a degree that way. Online, we lose some of that dynamic because we're not even online at the same time. So it's not like it's live class. So that means that you will have to adjust the assignments. Whatever you were going to plan in class, if you're transitioning from a regular class to teaching online, you were going to lecture for 2 hours, right? Well, now, how do you know that anybody listens to anything you say? If in class, at least you have an eye contact and you make sure that they're not asleep. Here, you don't know if they heard anything you said or if they read anything. So you have to create assignments that would provide some sort of a measurement. And that means a discussion post that is based on the chapter or content that what they have to read, or they have to watch a video and then analyze it, or they have to do a case study, or they have to analyze a chart or a graph, or solve a problem or an equation of some sort, or write some sort of assignment, submit a short essay, a series of questions or exercises, whatever form that assignment takes. It has to be a real assignment which can be measured and evaluated. Otherwise, we don't have substantive interaction. So if they just watch a video or read PowerPoints or whatever, that does not tell us that they did it, because we have no idea of knowing if they are actually engaging with material or they just opened the file and did nothing with it. So this is why we might have to adjust our strategy a little bit from the traditional campus class to teaching an online environment. And you can be creative with that, and we can provide you with some of the sort of say guidelines for that. We have quite a nice arsenal of ideas of how these assignments can be created online and what can be done to teach the same material basically, but in a slightly different way. So that's an issue that needs to be understood about adjusting assignments from how they are done in live interaction campus class versus online. Okay, and that brings me to creating weekly lesson plans. There's a section over here that's called lessons, and this is where you can create an entire lesson plan for your students. This is very convenient for students. Students love this because when you go to the left side, you see it says lessons right here. So if I'm going to click on this right now, it's going to be empty. There are no lessons because I haven't created anything. So I'm going to create a lesson for week 10, okay? I'm going to name it 10 week. Why? Because I actually want it to be sequential. And I'm going to say open it to students when the course is open. So I'm not going to give date limitations to that one. And I'm going to save. And I might as well add one for 11 so you could see how easy it is. So I just created two lesson plan holders, essentially. They're still empty. There's still nothing in them. But now I'm going to click on week 10. And in week 10, now this is what I actually want to happen in week 10. I'm going to design it right now in front of you, and I'm going to add something. I'm going to say, I'm going to do a heading, and I'm going to say, please post by Wednesday. And I'm going to click save, and now I'm going to add an assignment. Now, luckily, I have created a discussion assignment for week 10. Right there, I have it. There's a little drop-down menu that has all the assignments that are available. I'm going to choose discussion 10, and I'm going to make it a requirement for require students to complete the assignment. Yes, I want to require them to complete the assignment. And I click save, okay? And now that discussion is there. And I'm going to also create another heading. I'm going to say, please take the test. And I'm going to click save here and add my assignment. I have created test for week 10. I'm going to require it, saved. Now it's there. I can add anything else I want to, actually. If I'm thinking about it, I'm going to just, for fun, to show you how this is done, I'm going to add an extra item here. I'm going to go to content. And in this content, I'm going to post a YouTube link. And then I'm going to click save. And look what's going to happen with this YouTube. Now I am in the design view. This is something that instructors get to see and designers get to see, but students don't get to see this. What students get to see is like this. So I just added a discussion, and I added a test, and I added a little video for them to watch. And if I want to describe what I want them to do with that video, I can add instructions and directions and whatever I want. So now when the student comes in, they come into the dashboard. One of the things that they see on their schedule is that there's a test scheduled right here from 12 a.m. And they know when they can take it, the windows, and they know that also by Tuesday there's discussion scheduled. And so here it is. And 29 minutes ago, somebody already posted. So all sorts of information. So now I'm a student, I'm walking in here, I already know what I'm supposed to do. I know what's on my schedule. These are the assignments that are coming up next. If I go into a lesson and I go into week 10, there's those assignments. And let's say I'm ready for a discussion. I click on discussion, and here's the window ready for me to post. Now I can post my answer to the question. And so things like that. That's me creating a lesson plan, essentially, and filling it out. So I added stuff to week 10. I didn't add anything to week 11, but you get the idea. So those lesson plans are empty until you fill them out. And creating assignments and then adding them to those lesson plans, or adding any kind of content as far as PowerPoints, is totally up to you. You can make this as vibrant and as full and as rich as you want it to make. The system is very flexible, allowing you to do that. All right, so that is how you create lesson plans. I showed you how to enter grades into the gradebook, and I showed you how to grade discussions as I discussed the gradebook already. So you've seen that. I'm not going to come back to this. The last thing that I want to show you is the attendance, okay? As we said already, the attendance is based on student interaction, and it has to be substantive interaction. So they don't get anything just for showing up. They get something for doing the work, submitting something, participating in a discussion, writing comments, whatever. So I'm going to go to attendance now. You could see that right under the gradebook, there's another button, attendance. And this is what the attendance would look like in the online class. I'm going to click to the classroom. So right now, if you're entering attendance already on campus, this is what you see. You see a little purple box that says take attendance for whichever week that you're teaching, and you click on that, and to the students that come up. So I have 2 students. I go save attendance. I'm done. They were there. They showed up. I marked them present, and all of a sudden the purple box changes to blue, and it says present too. So now the registrar and everybody knows that those students were actually in class. That's really all it takes, seconds. Now, in an online attendance, when you have an online class, it's a little bit different. We calculate their presence by activity. So you could see this little tab between classroom and online. I just switched to an online, and there's nothing here. Why? Because those students never really participated. So I'm going to have to take you to a different class. I'm going to take you to one of my classes and show you how participation works. So here's a philosophy class I'm teaching. And you could see I have an alert over here who's failing for non-attendance right away. So that tells you some of my students are not showing up. I'm going to go to attendance right now. And this is the regular classroom attendance. But I'm going to click on the online, and you see who participated. You'd see on each day that the students came in and did something online, each day it tells me how many students participated. So if I want to know who participated yesterday in my class, I just click on 3 students participated, and it's going to show me the entire roster, and it's going to tell me who participated. So Mr. Choi right here participated. I have let's see, Mr. Traor and Mr. Santos. They all participated in class. They did something. If I want to know what they did, I click on the detail right here next to their participation, and that tells me that, okay, Mr. Choi did a test in 8:01 p.m. and at 8:53 p.m. he participated in a discussion post. And if I want to see his participation, I can click further and actually see what exactly he did. But this is enough for me already to know that I can mark him present. So now I'm going to go to my roster on the attendance and simply mark Mr. Choi present, okay? And so on and so forth with all my other students. So every week I'm going to log in and check who participated and when, and based on that, create an accurate attendance record based on them actually fulfilling different tasks online. So that is basically
Hey, Peter.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I can interject back on that attendance sheet that you were looking
Yes.
at. When you're looking at it from an online perspective, you can't simply add up the numbers for each day and say, oh, I had 9 students that participated. There's 9 in the class, so they were all present. No, because you may have one student that participates on Sunday and then on Tuesday and then again on Wednesday doing 3 different things.
Exactly.
So you really have to look and see which students of those 3 participants actually participated. And it's a little bit of sort of stroking a sheet, but it is accurate that way.
Yes. So yeah, we don't go by numbers, we go by names. So each week I have to click on the actual names. So here I have another student. I have David participating here, and I have Talaru participating there, and Mohammed participating again. So I have 3, but this is the same guy coming in a different day. And so here I have 3 students again, and there's yet different students this time participating. So each week it's going to be somebody else. And so, yeah, I have to take them all and add them up and look them up and mark them on the roster. And so, yeah, it takes a little bit of work, but that way we have a very, very accurate record of who actually showed up when and what they did. And that is how they get marked as being present or absent online. Now, a lot of students don't know that, but we make it abundantly clear in the syllabus. I make it abundantly clear in the videos. There's an instructional video that all students receive of how to participate in an online course and what counts as attendance and so on and so forth. So we try to be as clear as we possibly can be, and then students still tell us, I didn't know I was supposed to come and do this every time. And so all we can say is that we can beat this issue to death, and that's it. So that's where we are. That's attendance. That was our last item that I wanted to show to you, and how the grading and the attendance works. These are all the major tasks that basically you can do to create an online course. I've kind of given you everything. And by the way, we're recording this session, so I'm going to save this and post it in YouTube and give you guys a link so you can watch this later and check this out again.